Yes, yes, yes. It is show number 5 of the division previews of the overall league previews. We are talking AFC West today, and obviously that is the division with the Super Bowl champions. And we are gonna leave the Super Bowl champions for last. It's the usual crew from Views from the 22, Germ So True, Vic Jr., Mo Schefter. Fellas, let's dive right into it. We got the Raiders, the Chargers, the Broncos, and then obviously the Chiefs. Vic, kick us off, baby.
Yes, sir. What's going on, people? We got the new Las Vegas Raiders, formerly of Oakland. Um, and I'll start with the draft. We got the speedster, Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama. This is going to be an interesting pick. I think this is going to be a big pick for them for their future because it's one of those picks where, the Raiders are known for getting those guys that want to fly down the field and stuff like that, right? But I'm not big on that whole theory of always the Raiders. That's how they want to do things. This is new management. This is new coaching. John Gruden is a offensive mind. I think he really likes Henry Ruggs. Not only Henry Ruggs got all that speed that we saw, but he's a great route runner. He's got some really good hands. So it's interesting to see what develops out of his career. Also in the first round, they took OSU cornerback Damon Arnett. It's another interesting pick. We thought he had like a third round grade on for him. He's not the quickest with the feet and stuff like that, turning goal type of cornerback. He's not that quick with it. So it's going to be interesting what they make out of his career. And my favorite pick of all of them, one of my favorite receivers in this class, and there is rumblings of him possibly starting at the X position. Wide receiver Brian Edwards out of South Carolina. Tremendous big body receiver, strong, good hands. Is not very shifty. He's not very fast, but he's got some decent quick feet, reliable hands, knows how to get up and get it. Very, very physical type of receiver. Again, rumblings out of camp that he's going to start at the X with Henry Ruggs starting at the Z position. So this offense is looking good. They also added Nelson Aguilar. To me, was probably their best free agent pickup in terms of providing some depth. He does have some drop issues and stuff like that, but he is one of those guys that fourth, fifth receiver you can throw in the mix. But defensively, they had a pretty good free agent signings. They had linebacker Corey Littleton, defensive end Carl Nassib, defensive tackle Malik Collins. Those guys should provide really good depth to already talented defensive line for the Raiders. So I expect them to be a good, productive defensive line there, good pass rush. And then one key signing offensively that I skipped was Marcus Mariota. Now, you guys know how I feel about Marcus. I don't think he has what it takes to be a top 32 quarterback in the league. I think he's a backup. This noise that I heard about him pushing Derek Carr for the quarterback position, I just don't see it. I see Carr as a top talent, and they put a good offense around him. So, and then just some key losses: Joseph, safety; Vontez Burfict, linebacker. Probably Carl Joseph is probably the biggest loss out of that. Other than that, I don't see the Raiders defense improving significantly when it comes to the secondary, but at least in the defensive line, they're going to be able to create more pressure.
Absolutely. Germ, what you got on the Broncos?
So for the Broncos this year, what we have going on, we're going to start with the losses. They lost guard Ronald Leary, Chris Harris, longtime Bronco, and Mr. Flapco himself, the unflappable. But with that being said, they came back in the draft, and I think they did a really, really good job. They took Natane Muti. It's a guard from Fresno State. I thought we all thought he was a pretty good player when I'm coming out. Physical, running game, those type of things. After having some free agent signings like Melvin Gordon and things of that nature, I thought that was a really big pickup for them. Also, they grabbed Jerry Jeudy, Lloyd Cushenberry, another offensive lineman. Jerry Judy's important because he immediately gives them a go-to guy on third down, even more so than even that of Noah Fant. I think that Jerry Judy will probably be the biggest mismatch in that receiving core because I think day one he comes in as the best route runner on that football team. Moving forward, they also picked up Jarrell Casey from the Tennessee Titans. I think that was a huge pickup for them on the interior of that defensive line, seeing that Jarrell was a big part and instrumental in stunning that Ravens run game in that playoff game. I thought he played a very, very good game. And also they also acquired Graham Glasgow, another offensive lineman. Depth is the most key thing about the offensive line. It was as we see. And then they also picked up A.J. Bouye, from former of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Overall, the cornerback. Overall, man, the Broncos are who they are. This is the year 2 of Drew Lock. We got he leaves a lot to be desired as well. He has a lot of growth still that we're going to see from him year 2. So on the offense, let's just see how he adapts and he gels with his weapons. Defensively, I think they'll be solid. I just think that they're going to be a top 15 defense at worst. And I think ultimately, it's really going to depend on Mr. Von Miller. See how he plays this year as he goes into a $25 million contract year for the season. So with that being said, for the Broncos this year, give me 7-9. I think 7-9, 8-8 is around the range that they should be at. And they should be in it till late when it comes down to competing for a wild card spot.
I mean, we'll see. But certainly Von Miller needs to have a little bounce back season. He didn't have his best year last year. I got the the Los Angeles Chargers, who are going to have a home eventually soon, that's good for them. They didn't have a home the last couple of years. They had some big losses, obviously. The big one being Phillip Rivers, the franchise quarterback for the last decade plus. He's gone. Melvin Gordon, the running back that they took in the first round, he's now gone. So that's, if you're keeping track, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, first round picks, now on to a second team. Derek Watt, fullback, he's gone. And Jatavius Brown on the linebacker on the defensive side, he's also gone. But they did draft a franchise quarterback, hopefully, in Justin Herbert, 6 overall. And they did also find a replacement for that starting linebacker by drafting Kenneth Murray in the later part of the first round, linebacker out of Oklahoma. They also got some protection for the rookie, signing a longtime right tackle from the Green Bay Packers, Brian Bulaga. And they also got in the defense, they added Chris Harris, longtime veteran corner for the Broncos, Super Bowl champion, All-Pro, former All-Pro. So that's a big signing. And they also signed Linval Joseph from the Minnesota Vikings, a big defensive tackle. And that's somebody who's certainly going to be in there. He's going to replace the production and the presence of Brandon Mebane, who also left via free agency. And I think when you look at this Chargers team, they're probably going to be starting Tyrod Taylor week 1. That's no surprise. I think Tyrod should 100% be the starter week 1. I think Justin Herbert, when you look at his arm, his physical attributes, it all looks beautiful. But I think in terms of processing the game, in terms of understanding the playbook, in terms of IQ and leadership, I think Tyrod Taylor is going to be the guy for them moving forward. At least for this season, he might not finish the whole season, but I fully expect Tyrod Taylor to be the quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers the full season. I think they're going to play some good defense. Hopefully Derwin James, that injury is not too serious, and hopefully he can come back and play significant time and finish out the season. And it could, again, there's a 7th seed now, so it could very well be that team, the Chargers, that gets in there. But for me, I'm looking at their first 5 games as the most crucial part of their schedule. We see a lot of teams over the years that have a lot of hype, that have a lot of expectations, that have a lot of good energy coming out, but they start off the season in a tough way against a tough schedule, and they don't come out very well, and they end up just digging themselves out of the hole for the rest of the season. So the first 5 games for the Los Angeles Chargers, are going to be crucial in defining their season. They start off against the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Then they got to play the world champions in the Chiefs Then they got to play the Panthers, who that defense is going to make it tough for anybody. And then they got to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we know what kind of challenges they're going to present for any team they play this year. And then finally, they round off that 5-game stretch playing the New Orleans Saints. So that's a tough 5-game stretch. If they go 1-4, 2-3, well, 2-3 we can live with. But if they start off 1-4, and then they get to the back end of the schedule where they got to close out 3 games in a row against the Broncos, Raiders, and Chiefs, that's tough. So those first 5 games are going to be absolutely crucial to their success. And we know you can't fall behind in this division because you gotta play those world champions, Kansas City Chiefs. And it leads us to our final team in this division. We're gonna kick it off with the departures, which actually is my responsibility. Let me pull that up. Did they lose anybody significant? I don't know. They re-signed Chris Jones. We're gonna get to the re-signing. So let me start with who they lost. They lost Kendall Fuller, corner. They lost Reggie Ragland. They lost Morris Claiborne, another corner. Durin Lee, another linebacker, and they lost also Emmanuel Agba. I'm intrigued to hear the free agency signings and the draft signings, but that's a lot of significant pieces on a defense that relied on effort more than talent. Who's got the free agency signings?
So for free agency, they went ahead and they re-signed a couple players. I think the biggest thing that they did was they brought back Chris Jones. They brought back Rashad Breeland. They also brought back Demarcus Robinson. But more than anything, they brought in Tycho Charlton on a 1-year deal for less than $1 million. Now, I'm not saying I'm high on that, but you can never have enough bodies when it comes to the defensive and offensive lines. We talk about that every year, no beef, no Lombardi. So with that being said, that's really, really key. So Vic, you can give those draft signings as well. And I want to talk about one of them when you get finished with it.
Right. No, it's interesting because like Mo said, that's a lot of losses defensively, but this is again another one of those coaches in Andy Reid that he's just gonna keep stacking up the offense. You know, that's his strength right now. That's what he coaches. That's where the team strength is at. So in the first round, with all those losses they had defensively, in the first round they go for the LSU running back Claude Edwards-Helaire. Now it's not a bad pick. You know, this kid is a talented player. I mean, I personally like him. He's definitely, you know, all the rumblings from camp is that he's going to start immediately for them. He's going to produce immediately for them. But it's just interesting where they could have had some defensive players there. In the second round, they come back and they get Willie Gay, linebacker out of Mississippi. Talented speed. You know, he's going to add some more speed to that defense. But then again, they go back to the offense in the third round. And now they do get some beef. I think this kid is pretty talented. We got the TCU offensive tackle, Lucas Niang. I guess I pronounce his last name. You know, just going to add some depth and a possible starter down the line. But, you know, you want to see them try to improve their defense and stuff like that. It's going to be one of those offenses, again, that's just going to, you know, I'll probably just have to outscore, you know, the other football team, whoever they're going up against.
I mean,
You said there was a line. Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I'll say is this: that's the most interesting part. Nang is actually a lineman in the mold of Mitchell Schwartz. So I actually look forward to seeing how that whole thing goes, because they may actually let Mitchell walk this offseason or whenever he's up as a free agent, or they may get rid of him. Who knows? But the thing is, I think that's what they're looking to replace for, as far as by bringing him in. Willie Gay Jr. is the most important draft pick of this class, because if you get a starting or a Pro Bowl caliber talent with that kid, he's going to be a guy that does not leave your field. And that's going to be very important if you get him and Honey Badger in unison early with Juan Thornhill in the back end of that defense. I think that triangle right there is going to be very, very tough for a lot of these teams to have to contend with. And with Noah Fant being a big addition And a big part of this, and Albert O also being a part of the Denver Broncos, I want to say this now. Willie Gay means that much more because now we got the Honey Badger who we know can cover, and we got this kid who we know can play in space. Now we can match up one-on-one. So I'm looking forward to this with the returning champs. I think they repeat with this division. I think they got the best quarterback arguably in the world, and I just think it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all I need to say. I think they get back to contention for the Super Bowl as well. Even if they don't get to the Super Bowl, I think they're destined for at least the conference semis with a first round bye.
Vic, what's your season projection for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I see another 13-3.
Yeah.
Possibly 14-2 season. We talked about the defense might be a weakness for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to continue to outscore people.
Yeah.
I think my Raiders prediction. I think that's an 8-8, 9-7 football team. I think they leave the Broncos in the last place there.
Okay.
I think they have actually I think they have a chance for second place with against the Chargers. So
and the Chargers.
Look out for the Raiders and that offense and that defense improving and maybe be in the mix for a playoff spot.
Right. I mean, I think that division is going to be interesting to say the least. There's some interesting talent in there, interesting football teams. But at the end of the day, it's Patrick Mahomes' world, and they all just living in it. Chiefs win that division, and everybody else fights for 2 or 4. And eventually, I do think we see Marcus Mariota as the starter for the Las Vegas Raiders in the 2020 regular season. We're going to leave it at that. That's the AFC West. Coming back at you with another one. Stay tuned.